All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to Ironside Lunch and Learn. This week is Parashat Chukat. Very interesting. Last week's parasha, when we were talking about all the different things that were happening in the desert with Moshe, with Datan, with Aviram, with Korach. This week's parasha, Parashat Chukat, happens to be 39 years later. Remember, they were in the desert for 40 years. Last week's parasha, we were in the first year, second year in the desert. Now you gotta fast forward 39 years, and this is where we are this week. Parashat Chukat. This parasha, we have the death of Aharon and Miriam and Neviah. Aaron HaKohen and Miriam and Neviah. And we also have the Chukat Para Aduma. In other words, we have the law of the red heifer, which is a chukat, a chok. What does it mean? We have chukot, mishpatim, and mitzvot. Chukat, there's certain things that make sense when we do it. Certain things we understand why we're doing it. Certain things, there's a reasoning behind it. Chukat, there's no reason. There's no rhyme and reason why we do it. We just accept it for what it is. One of those things is paraduma, the red heifer, which Be'ezrat Hashem will go into detail and describe what it's about. Certain other things that we don't understand and we just do, that are also chukat. We have things like shatnez, the mixing of wool and linen. We really don't know what's the real reasoning behind it. Tefillin, the fact that they're boxes of leather with parashiot inside and they're black and we put it on our bodies. We don't know the reason. It's chukat, this is from Moshe Mehar Sinai. This is where we get the whole tradition from. So this is one of those things. Aduma, in this week's parasha, you have to understand it's one of these things that we don't know the real concept behind it, and they say that nobody really knows the meaning except for Moshe Rabbeinu. They even said that Shlomo HaMelech was trying to figure it out, that even he, the smartest man in the world, couldn't get to the bottom line reasoning of why we do it. So the Rashi, in the beginning of the parasha, gives us a basic explanation. He gives us a basic explanation, something that can quiet the mind when you say, okay, what is this paraduma? So he says over there, it's a mashal. It's a parable. To Platin Shel Melech, when you go to a castle, a king's castle, and there's the son of the servant, the son of the maid is in the castle, and he goes over there and he dirties the hallway. So who's going to clean up the mess that he did? The mother of the boy, right? So the mashal goes like this. Mashal leben shifcha shetinecha Platin Shel Melech, amar HaMelech, תבוא עמו ותנקה צואת בנער. כך אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, תבוא פרה אדומה ותכפר על העגל. So did Hashem say that the same way that the Jewish people made the sin of the golden calf, bring the para aduma, bring the red heifer to make a kapara in order to atone for the sin of the golden calf. Okay, it's a nice small reasoning behind it, but the more we get to find out about para aduma, the weirder it gets, and unless we begin to understand it, and we'll go into detail, and Be'ezrat Hashem will have an idea, or maybe at the end, what it's about. Here's some facts about Para Aduma. Moshe was the first one to ever put together the Para Aduma, the ashes of Para Aduma, and it's actually called after him ever since. The Para Aduma of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's always been called after him. And by the way, he's the only one that knew the reasoning behind it. He's the one that knew the meaning behind Para Aduma. Nobody else ever in history did. Up until today, we've had 8 more. In other words, we had 8, one that Moshe made, 8 more since throughout history, which makes it a total of 9. Each one of those 8 had a little bit of the original ashes of Moshe Rabbeinu's Para Aduma. And the 10th one will be in the time of Mashiach, and Mashiach is going to be the one that prepares it. So 9 have been made already. There's 1 left. It says there's some rules or some details that must be followed when it comes to have a kosher para aduma, kosher red heifer. 1, it has to be red. 2, it has to be bli ol. In other words, it's never carried anything. It can't do any sort of work. It can't have any black hairs on it. It has to be pure red. And if it's too, I'm just summarizing it. There's books and books and books on this, talking about two red hairs that are together. Two black hairs that are together, two black hairs that are in different situation. How about if the beginning is black and the beginning is red and the top is black, or vice versa? Many, many details. But you should know that it has to be a red heifer with no black hairs. And it reminds us of the egel. Now if you remember the egel, the golden calf, what did they make it out of? They made it out of gold. What color is the Aduma? It's red. So they said the red and the gold are equivalent. Why? Because pure gold, not the gold we know today, but the purest gold, and some jewelers will let you know that the purer the gold is, the redder it is. Like for example, we see 14 karat, 18 karat, but if you see 20 or 24, they're a little yellowish. When you take it to a purer form, it even becomes red. So they say the same way that the egel was made out of gold, we take a red cow because they're similar in color. Shlomo HaMelech said, Amarti achakema v'rechoka mimeni. Shlomo HaMelech, being known to be the smartest man in the world, knew all the languages of the world, and even the animals and even the spirits, knew all the chokhmot of the olam. Again, there's only one person that got the title of the smartest man in the world. He says, this one escapes me. This one, I could not understand the reasoning behind Para Aduma. Baal HaTurim, which is a commentary on the Torah, the Talmud, he's very well known for gematria, the numerical value of words. He says if you take the numerical value of Para Aduma, it's equivalent to Zeh al Avon HaEgel. This is to atone for the sin of the egel. So you can see that all this is going in the same direction, that this is the sin of the golden calf. The Para Aduma came to atone for that. Now, what is the function of the Para Aduma? Basically, it purifies the impure and it defiles the pure. In other words, if somebody is not pure, it makes him pure, and the guy that sprinkled the Para Aduma's ashes on that person, he becomes impure himself. This is one of the things that a lot of people are wrestling with. For example, we were talking about before how there are certain things that are chukat, they have no meaning. You have to understand that the Goyim's religion, they have a reason for everything. They know exactly why they're saying something. They know exactly why they're doing something. They know exactly why they believe in something. They have reasoning for everything. There's certain things that don't make sense, they don't accept. Not us. Us as Jews, we do things that don't make sense to us. We accept it. Hashem told us, we're doing it, thank you very much. We don't need any more explanation than that. So this is one of the things that the reasoning that there's in history that many people on a very high level, philosophers, aristocrats, royalty would come to the Jew throughout history and says, explain to me the red heifer. Explain to me why the impure becomes pure and the one that purifies becomes impure just by sprinkling the water. Nobody can understand it. As a Jew, we accept it. They couldn't accept it. Your religion is crazy. So you have to understand that that's the main function of that ashes. Now, how's the process? How do we get this particular ash? Well, there's a few details that have to be followed. The cow itself has to be at least 2 years old. Before 2 years old, you can't do anything with it. It could be a perfectly red cow with all the markings on it. If it didn't reach the age of 2, you cannot use it. You have to take that cow outside of the camp, have it slaughtered, take its blood, sprinkle it on the altar 7 times, burnt the ashes along with 3 other things that we put inside, which is Ezov, Erez, Tolad Shani. Ezov, Erez is the tallest tree, which signifies people that have a lot of gava, a lot of pride. Erez. Ezov is a hyssop bush. When the wind blows, it blows over. It's practically anything can blow it over. So you got a very strong tree and a hyssop bush. I forgot what it's called. And then the other one is tolat shani, a special little worm that they put over there. and that gets burnt into the ashes. And once that's burnt, it's stored into a container and mixed with a special water, and that becomes the concoction. The Kohen takes it, sprinkles it on the person, and he becomes pure. What does he become pure from? Well, there's several things that he can become impure from. For example, if he touched a dead body, if he went into a place where there was a dead body, if you just walk into that venue, you can become impure. There's tum'ah, regular tum'ah, ava tum'ah, and avi avota tum'ah. Avi avota tum'ah is like the highest level of spiritual impurity that you can get. And you contact it only if you come in touch with a dead person, or if you come in touch with a dead body. And then if you touch somebody that touched the dead body, you become one level lower. Or if you come into an area, let's say if you came to the house where the person passed away, that's another type of spiritual impurity. And back in the days, it was very, you used to watch out for that. You used to watch out to not being spiritually impure. Today, we are all avi avota tumah. We are all under the classification of impure. What we're talking about was available only in those days. We don't have that today. Today we are all of us, all the rabbis, all the Kohanim, all the Levim, all Am Yisrael, we're all under that classification. So it's not something that you have to watch out for, but back in the day, if a person was like that, there was a process to bring him back to being pure. Now, this particular Aduma, if you think about it, it's something that's been throughout the ages. Special water, you sprinkle on them, and they become pure. And when you think about it, it's kind of weird. It's hard to grasp, but we've always been mystified by this whole concept. And again, till today, even as we talk about it, I'm probably not going to say anything that's going to settle your mind either. It's just one big question mark of what it's all about. Yes, it's something to atone for the sin of the Egel, but at the same time, there's way more deeper meanings that we haven't touched on. I'll give you an example. They had, throughout the ages, it was very coveted to find. It's very hard to find a red cow that is perfectly red, that never carried anything, that's never been. That never had another cow mate with it, that nothing has been on top of its back, that this perfectly pure thing, that the person that owns it never gave it a name, the person that owned it never gave it a purpose. I mean, there's so many conditions. It's it's very, very hard to find. There's many stories in the Gemara, many stories in the Midrash of the Kohanim trying to acquire one of these red heifers throughout the ages. Very, very interesting stories. I'm sure you're going to hear it throughout Shabbat and a lot of the Midrashim. Not too long ago, they found one in Lakewood, New Jersey, about a year ago. A perfect one. And some Jews were willing to buy it. They offered the guy like $1 million, if not more. There's stories of when it comes to something like this, there's no value to it. When the guy owns it, if he doesn't know if he thinks it's just selling a cow, that's one thing. But if the guy knows he's selling the cow, that's the red heifer to a Jew, the value goes up. The guy held back. He says, no. When Mashiach comes, I'm going to be the one that's going to hand it over to him. Wouldn't you know it, man, not too long ago, he got defiled in one way. Something happened that halachically now it can't be used. He lost his opportunity to make a lot of money. And there's a beautiful story in the Gemara that talks about a guy who also wanted to sell a red heifer to the Kohanim, and he was a little bit of a wise guy. So they offered him back in the days, almost like 600,000 gold coins. Unheard of amount, even today. If I tell you $600,000, imagine a few thousand years ago, 600,000 gold coins. It's a fortune. It's a fortune. He was a wise guy. He said, no more, this, that. They went with him all the way to 800,000. 800,000 coins. They're ready to do it. They said, okay, no problem. Deal. I'm going to go get it. He was such a wise guy. I said, oh, I'm going to show these guys how they don't know anything. He went on top of the cow and started to ride it. And then he said, they think that they're so smart. I'm going to show them that I'm smarter than them. I'm going to ride the cow and I'm going to take the money. So when he brought the cow, they said, okay, we'd like to check it right now. They check it and they said, okay, sorry, deal off. He says, why? Before you said it's a perfectly pure red cow. How come the deal is off right now? He says, because right now there's an oil on it. It was used. He says, how do you know it was used? So here are a couple of signs that you know when a red heifer has been used, because that's what happens to it automatically. As soon as somebody rides on it, there's two hairs that are standing straight up. As soon as somebody rides on it, they go down. So that sign was gone. Another interesting sign that you know that a para Aduma has been used and it doesn't have any oil on it. It has the eyes are straight, but as soon as you ride it, it becomes how do you say pozel? The eyes start to go different, cross-eyed. They either go in or they go out. They change the position. So as soon as they saw the cow, the eyes are in different positions and the hair went down. They said, thank you very much. Our signs show that they weren't able, that it's not a kosher cow. So who had the last laugh? He lost a lot of money trying to be a wise guy. Now, they even have now an embryo in Israel. They were able to take a red Angus bull or a red Angus cow, which is Angus is a very good meat, very rare, not very rare, just like a very good quality. And they were able to get a red one. And they took the scientific approach to it. They took an embryo, another embryo, and then they're trying to put it together to get a perfect, genetically perfect red cow. The problem with that is that even if they come up with it, what are they going to do with it? The 10th one, only Mashiach can put it together. They can now have, do whatever they want to do. But if Mashiach is not here, she passes that, let's say before 2 years old, or once she comes to the point 3, 4. You keep in mind that, for example, if a plastic bag passes over it and just sits on its back for a split minute, pasul. You have no idea the requirements that are necessary in order for it to be kosher. And not only that, then it has to be checked. So even though that they're working on it on an embryo, who knows if it's ever going to be used. Wishful thinking. Now, also not only that, they're going to have to take from Moshe's original para Aduma ash and put it there. Who knows what those things are? There's many stories also that they were looking for it and they actually know where in the world they have it. Now, what is the mashal and nimshal? What is the parable over here? What can we learn over here from this whole idea of this super unique cow, super holy ashes that once it's sprayed on somebody, he becomes holy, and then the one who sprays him, which is typically a kohen, becomes unholy. So I thought about it, and it made me think of a couple of things. One, the whole concept of the holy purifying the unholy. You can talk about rabbis. They're holy, right? And where do they go? They go out into the street, to the unholy. What happens? They're sprinkling on them kedusha. They're teaching them Torah, mitzvot, maasim tovim, but at the same time they're having contact with the unpure. So they become unpure or become a little bit dirty just from the contact with those people. So it's the same type of mentality. It's like they're going out there purifying, but at the same time, while they're there, they're becoming impure themselves. Why? Sometimes you hear certain language. Sometimes when they're walking in the street, they're seeing certain things. Sometimes the subject matter that's going on is not exactly, it can be so many things that can take you out of that holy element while you're trying to make somebody holy also, or to try to have an effect on them. Baalei Tshuva is another one. Baalei Tshuva is very interesting because Baalei Tshuva, what is it? It's basically they're in the hotbed of impurity, right? But you got to get them out. So what happens when the Baal Tshuva, you get him out? You got to go into that hotbed of impurity. You got to go into that sewage of area that they're in. You take him out. Okay, you took the Baal Tshuva out. He's out now. But what happened to the hand that took him out? It also got dirty. Also got impure. Another thing that was very interesting. You see, we have our good friends, the people of Chabad, where they go? You see them, they're in India, they're in Thailand, they're in Cambodia. What are they doing over there? What are these places? They go into places where there's absolutely no Kedusha. But what they're trying to do over there, they're trying to sprinkle some Kedusha in the place, or to take the impure and make them pure again. So you can see that this concept of taking the impure and making them pure is here today, but not in the form of a liquid or an ash that's being sprayed on you, but actually human beings taking other human beings out of their impurity and making them pure, but in the process, they're becoming impure. Another beautiful example to it is the etrog and the lulav. You see that you have the etrog, which is out of the 4 species that we use during Sukkot, it's the holiest one. Why? It's got all the elements. It's got good smell, it's got good taste. They say that each one is connected to a different type of person. Let's see if I can remember it off the top of my head. You have the lulav, and you have the adasim, and you have the aravot. One has a good smell, one has a good taste, one has no good smell, no good taste, and the other one has it all. So they say there's one person who has mitzvot, but doesn't have maasim tovim. You have one guy that has maasim tovim, but doesn't have mitzvot. Then you have a guy that has nothing, and then you have a guy that has it all. The one that has it all is the etrog. That's the tzaddik, that's the rabbi. He's got maasim tovim, he's got good actions, he's got mitzvot, he's beautiful. They say the etrog, if you sometimes go to shul, you see what do? They keep him in a separate box. The etrog, some people have a own box for the etrog. Why? Because they don't want to keep it together with the ones that are soiled a little bit. This guy only has mitzvot, but he doesn't act like a human being. This one has mitzvot, but doesn't have anything in actions. This one doesn't have nothing. So the etrog comes, and he put it together. What is it? The tzaddik comes to meet all these people. He spends some time with them, right? He spends some time with them, teaches them some Torah, teaches them some maasim tovim. But what happens when they're interacting? Some of his smell rubs off on him. Some of their smell rubs off on him. So again, we have to go into where the people that are impure, but what do we do with the rabbi? We put him back into the box, we put him back into the yeshiva, we put him back into the shul. Sometimes the pure has to go to the impure, have its effect. Sometimes they rub off on each other, but then you put him back. Another beautiful example of this idea of the red heifer. You know, there's many more things that we could talk about. I was thinking of highlighting Aaron's life and Miriam's life. If you have a chance this Shabbat, it's something very nice to delve into. But it's also very interesting to think about that, look, we found out so many things about the Aduma, how they make it, why they make it, what Rashi says, different midashim, the value. But at the end of the day, it's still, you feel like I didn't get a satisfactory answer to what it's all about. So we should, Be'ezat Hashem, wish for Mashiach to come, to make that last 10th Aduma, and that we should all know the secret that Moshe Rabbeinu knows, the secret of the Aduma. Shabbat Shalom.